If you're running a small business or you're consulting on Acumatica, you've probably run into this, right? Those unexpected budget overruns on purchase orders. One minute you think you've got everything under control, and then bam, a PO comes along and throws your entire project budget off track.
We hear about a lot from clients, especially concerning the standard Acumatica warnings when it comes to going over budget,
The warnings are there that
especially for small businesses where every dollar counts. That's why it's so important to have a system that doesn't just warn you, but actually prevents you from going over budget.
a firm line in the sand.
Precisely.
And that's exactly the problem that Dipak, our expert, decided to tackle.
He's got a knack for these kinds of things.
He does. 4 years of experience, and he's already solved over 200 different ERP challenges.
This particular issue, though, preventing purchase order budget overruns in Acumatica, that was one he really got his teeth into.
So what was the core of the problem? What were clients specifically asking for?
It was all about control, you see. Clients wanted a system that would put a hard stop to any purchase order that exceeded the project budget. The warnings were helpful, sure, but they weren't enough. They weren't actually preventing anything.
They needed something with a bit more bite, so to speak.
Exactly. They needed a system that could actually enforce the budget, not just point at it and say, hey, you're going over.
So how did Deepak go about creating this stronger system? What was his approach to stopping those over-budget POs?
Well, he basically had to get under the hood of Acumatica and tinker with a function called the persist method.
The persist method. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that one.
Think of it like the final confirmation button, the one you click right before a purchase order gets saved into the system. Deepak had to make some changes there so he could step in right before that final save happened.
Ah, I see, like adding in a mandatory review stage. What happens during this review?
Well, during the review, we run a custom-built check. It's designed to see if adding a particular item to the purchase order will cause the total project budget to be exceeded.
So it's like a pre-flight check for the budget.
Yeah.
But how does this check know what the budget limits are for each specific item being ordered?
It's actually quite clever. The system pulls together budget information based on 3 key things: the project task, the cost code, and the account group.
Each of those is tied to each line on the purchase order, right?
Right, so you can get really, really precise with your budget management. For every single item, the system knows exactly where it fits within the project and whether adding it to the purchase order will push things over budget.
Okay, so for every item, the system knows where it sits financially, if it'll tip the scales, what happens if it does, if the item will cause the PO to go over budget.
In that case, the system pops up a clear error message, letting the user know they've exceeded the budget.
So it's similar to the warnings, but with one key difference.
You got it. The purchase order can't be saved. The process stops dead in its tracks until the issue is resolved. No more accidentally going over budget because you didn't notice a little warning at the bottom of the screen.
So this is really all about preventing overspending. Are there any cases where this check wouldn't come into play?
We did build in some logic to exclude purchase order lines that have already been closed or canceled. There's no need to include those when you're trying to manage the active budget, right?
Right, that makes sense. It prevents unnecessary warnings. And if I'm remembering correctly, this whole solution was built with future improvements in mind.
That's right. The check can actually be adapted and reused in other parts of Acumatica that need stronger budget control.
Ah, so it's not a one-trick pony. It's very clever how a small adjustment, tweaking that persist method and adding that budget check can have such a big impact on preventing financial surprises.
It really shows you the power of customization, You can pinpoint a problem and solve it with a targeted solution instead of relying on these generic warnings.
So for all those small business owners listening, tired of those unexpected costs popping up, and for those Acumatica consultants looking for solid, dependable solutions, what would you say is the key takeaway here?
It's all about having a proactive system, one that stops budget overruns before they happen. This is a perfect example of how a custom ERP solution can really tackle specific business challenges, especially when it comes to staying in control of your finances.
This is where a company like Tiana Solutions really shines, don't you think? Deepak's work is a great example of how they identify these issues and come up with solutions that actually work.
Absolutely. Their work is impressive.
So if you're facing similar ERP challenges or you're an Acumatica consultant looking for innovative solutions for your clients, we really encourage you to get in touch with Tiana Solutions. Their number is 678-910-2774. Give them a call, discuss your specific needs, and see how their tailored solutions can help you.